East Church. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Ray Dopke. Tonight we want you to put on your Sunday best because we're going to a wedding.
We'll also look at some fascinating new houses you can buy that are buried in the ground and will cut your fuel bills in half. In our department, Chef Tal prepares a spicy Spanish pork loin. Dr. Jim Wasco looks at obesity and its many dangerous side effects. If you're like me, losing weight can really be tough. Well, tonight in our departments, Dr. Jim Wasco has some weight loss advice for those of us who need to lose more than a few pounds. Then in our home department, Chef Tal prepares a zesty pork loin. In our self department, Dr. Jim Wasco has that advice on weight loss. And in our discovery department, Kathy Mann takes us behind the scenes in Hollywood for a fascinating peek.
Hi, this evening. Obesity has been called a major public health problem in the United States because it complicates so many other medical conditions and by itself is responsible for reducing a person's lifespan. Nutritionists and medical practitioners spend much of their time in helping people lose weight, and the thrust of their efforts is usually based on the premise that the major cause of obesity is overeating. I'm Dr. Jim Wasco, and today I've come to the research laboratories of the Beth Israel Hospital in Boston. An exciting study here shows that the problem of obesity may not be quite so simple as overeating. A biochemical defect may be responsible for the difficulty that many people have in losing weight. Two problems have always confounded weight control specialists: the overweight person who eats very little and still gains weight, and the thin overeater. This study shows that an enzyme called ATPase may be responsible for this dilemma. ATPase is found in body cells, and among its many functions is partly responsible for the way the body uses energy. The study involved human volunteers and showed that, as compared to thin people, overweight people have less ATPase. This means that more of the food they eat is stored as fat and less is used for energy. Thin people, on the other hand, use their food more efficiently. When the overweight subjects lost weight, their ATPase levels remained constant, suggesting that the defect was there before the weight gain. This study does not suggest that in the future we'll all be able to eat everything we want and then take a little ATPase to cover the sins of our excess. Overeating is still a factor in obesity, but it will change the direction of obesity research from appetite control and behavior modification exclusively to involve how the body uses energy. And it gives hope to those people who've always had a problem losing weight. The study shows that calories still do count. It's just that they count differently for some people than for others.
Most people who visit Hollywood have already heard about the Universal Studio Tour, but there are a number of other tours available, including the one here at the Burbank Studios. Hi, I'm Kathy Mann, behind the scenes in Hollywood, and tonight I'm going to take you to one of the most interesting stops on the Burbank Studios tour. It's where the Waltons live. Do you recognize this house? Yes, this is the place the Waltons have called home for 9 years now. And guess what? In the space of just one block is all of Walton's Mountain. That's right, as you can see behind me here is the Waltons' home, and over here is all the rest of Walton's Mountain. For the TV series, Ike and Cora Beth Godsey's General Store and the oil pump appear to be several miles away from the house, but to make it easier to shoot, the sets were built closely together. Kind of funny seeing these familiar buildings all scrunched together like this, but they're all here. The Waltons' house has withstood a couple of disasters, struck by lightning in one episode and burned down in another. The barn has seen some flames too, but in each case a false front was burned to prevent damage to the buildings. And recently this wire top was added to the chicken coop here because some kind of animal has been sneaking around at night after the crew goes home and taking off with the chickens. The canteen is the newest addition to the Walton set. It stands next to the antique shop run by the Baldwin ladies, who specialize in raising everyone's spirits with their medicine. It's really just a front for their little bootleg business. And speaking of fronts, there are no insides in these buildings. The insides are all on a soundstage nearby. The Waltons show up here only for exterior shots. All part of the magic of Hollywood.
You can heat your home in the winter and cool it in the summer without paying fuel bills. Find out how next on PM Magazine. Can you imagine living in central New York in the winter without central heating? Or what about living in Atlanta during a hot, humid summer without air conditioning? Well, both can be done in comfort with help from an ancient idea rediscovered. I'm talking about earth-sheltered homes. People are finding out that they can really beat the high cost of heating a home and cooling it during the summer by partially burying their homes. Tonight, PM Magazine's John Patrick takes us to Atlanta to take a look at some of these fascinating houses, and we'll find out how they really work.
Living underground is not a new idea. Prehistoric man found caves and in-ground shelters more than useful for protection from extremes of hot and frigid weather. For anyone, though, who spent time in a cave, the dampness, mustiness, and darkness can make it an uncomfortable experience. So at first, the idea of an underground or earth-sheltered home may not sound inviting. But technology's come a long way since the caveman, and especially in the last few years. This beautiful Atlanta home is 75% underground with berms of earth on 3 sides and 3 feet of earth over the roof. It is the house that Dick Lang and Jack Shoup built, staking their money and reputations, businessman and architect respectively, on a new old idea. They pioneered new methods for sinking buildings in the earth. Their Atlanta firm, Energy Efficient Environments Incorporated, is one of a handful of companies doing this kind of work. They design passively, making the most of nature.
Well, let me try and explain it this way to you. Every time that we take on a client or we go to do anything, we work specifically with the site, okay? We believe that when you do something, the thing that has been there consistently right along has been the site, all right? So let's make the trees, the deciduous trees, which lose their leaves in the wintertime and they're there in the summertime, let's use them for shade. Let's not cut them all down just to make it easier to work, all right? If we have a sloping site, let's build into the sloping site. If it's a flat site, then we go down, fold the earth back, and then bring it back in a berming arrangement around the outside of the structure.
Lang and Shoup have built a number of their buried homes in the Southeast. After 2 years, one of their homes resold at a 54% profit. But that's not the only saving to the owners.
Well, we have instances right now where, you know what the temperature has been lately. It's been going down in the 20s at night. We have one gentleman living in a house right now that keeps reminding himself he's going to have to turn the furnace on just to make sure it works and it was really put in there and that he virtually burns no fossil fuel whatsoever to heat his home. Traditionally, we have been experiencing about 65% reduction across the board in terms of cost of fossil fuel burn and heating and cooling bills.
Buried homes borrow an old piece of knowledge. That is that the temperature of the ground stays pretty much in the 50s, no matter the weather above. Warming and cooling are easier than in a conventional house. Other advantages: outside noise is cut to near nothing. Indoors stay clean, little or no dusting. These days, modern-day caves are usually custom-built, costing around $34 a square foot. Take this huge home, to have an indoor pool and racquetball court being built for the William Lees of Marietta. Designer Shoup is really proud of this one.
They will not need cooling at all. The fact is, there's no air conditioning unit going into the house at all, period. In terms of heating bill, they're working off of 2 fireplaces, and it is right at the moment, figures show that the fireplace will put out enough heat to take care of the entire heat loss through the house. So,
building the house was Bill Lee's idea. How did you sell Barbara on the idea?
It was tough. When we bought the land, she was kind of upset about it. And then we went and got Jack Shoup to draw up the plans. And we gave Jack pretty much free license. We told him we wanted, underground, southern exposure, greenhouse, stuff like that. And she, when she saw the plans, she just fell in, it was my idea, my house, or, your idea, your house. When we walked out of Jack's office the first time, it was our house, and, and she just loved it.
But what if it leaks?
When we go to build one of ours, needless to say, we're underground, and or earth sheltered, whichever the case may be, and there's no way under those circumstances with people living in it that we can afford to have that type of a leak. So we literally seal the entire structure from the outside, wrapping it right from the footings right straight up to where it breaks out of the ground. And leakage is not a problem to us.
An earth-sheltered home does not have to look buried. From the street, Mark and Sue Gilderbloom's Marietta house looks traditional. Only the earth tubes in the front yard give it away. They take hot air into the ground to the house, cooling it along the way. Natural air conditioning.
I think it was more my idea to go earth-covered. My wife was against it. I'd say the total bill is probably about 5% more, the total electric bill, but we're total electric here, and we have roughly 1/3 more area than we had before, but at the same time, our electric bill is probably 5–10% more only.
I like it a lot. I like there's so much light in the house. It lets in a lot of sunshine.
The Gilderbloom house is enveloped in air, heated by a greenhouse on the south open side, cooled by earth tubes, and stored in rock underneath the house. Air circulates entirely around the house. To be comfortable, the Gilderblooms have to make adjustments.
The heat builds up in the greenhouse, and then if I want it warmer in a particular room, I open the sliding glass doors, because all the glass doors, every room opens on to the greenhouse. The heat builds up in the greenhouse. If I want it warmer in a room, I open the doors. If I want it cooler, I just shut the doors and keep it cool, like my husband likes it cooler, so he can have a room cool, and I can have a room hot.
Dick Lang and Jack Shoup aren't just into designing earth-sheltered homes. Under construction is a large underground office complex near Atlanta, an underground auto mechanics garage, and on the drawing board, apartment complexes providing the same advantages to apartment dwellers as those in partially buried homes enjoy. And for those who can't afford custom homes, new designs that work on many sites like this one built for Richard and Elaine Marshall. It's their dream home, cost about $65,000. They feel years from now its energy efficiency and low upkeep will make retirement and fixed income easier to take. Richard Marshall sums up how many of these homeowners feel.
We oriented it to the south so we could take advantage of passive solar heat. And we're just going to take advantage of everything nature can give us and try to live within its bounds.
So let's have none of those down and dirty thoughts about this being a grassroots movement. They're not dirt cheap, nor are they mushroom farms, but they appear to be a solid, down-to-earth approach to expensive energy. Now, if mortgage rates will just cooperate.
You might be surprised to know that an earth-sheltered home doesn't cost any more to build than a conventional home. No special materials are needed, so most any competent contractor could do the job. We'll be back with more of PM Magazine in just a moment. Tomorrow night on PM Magazine, we're going to take a look at stomach stapling. It's a revolutionary new surgical procedure that's giving some amazing weight loss results to overweight people. And we'll meet former boxer Jake LaMotta, the real raging bull, and find out what he thinks of the movie version of his life. In our department, Chef Tell has an easy way to turn those leftover vegetables into an exciting new dish. Judy Missett shows some jazzercise stretches for seniors. And Joyce Cole-Haywick looks at some fire safety devices we should all know about. That's all on Thursday's PM Magazine. We hope you'll join us then. Good night, everyone. Stomach stapling on Thursday's PM Magazine. It's a new surgical procedure that's producing amazing results in weight loss. We'll also meet the real raging bull and find out what he thinks of the movie version of his life. That's all on Thursdays, PM Magazine at 7, right here on TV5.